Hi, everyone. This is the Movie Night Society. It's just Will and I again, because
Yo,
Dustin is still taking a break. And we're talking about Blade Runner, not Blade with Wesley Snipes. Uh, although that would be a fun movie to do. That's a fun movie.
that would be. But Blade is a fun movie. We should definitely do that again.
Yeah. But yeah, we're talking about Blade Runner, uh, the classic film from 1982. I feel like that was a really good year for practical effects and a lot of movies in general. It had The Thing, like same year, like Poltergeist, um, E.T. Just like a good year for science fiction, especially. I'd say. This was your first time seeing it, and you recommended it. I feel like everyone. I don't know. I'm sure there's other people who haven't seen it too. Um, I don't know if we want to get into like just what it is about first, and then talk about what we felt about it.
Sure, why don't we just do that?
Okay. Yeah, the movie's it's set in the future, the far distant future of 2019 in Los Angeles, and the world has basically they've kind of perfected like artificial life. They've created what they call replicants, which are essentially like synthetic humans, and they use them for slave labor on off world colonies, like on the moon and stuff. We never get to see that though. That's one part of the universe that we don't get to see in either movie, which is interesting. And uh, at some point, these a certain, I think it was like the Nexus 4 or 5 model of the replicants
For this one,
started.
it was six, I believe.
Was
Nexus
it
six.
6?
Yeah,
Okay.
Nexus six.
Okay, so the Nexus 6 models started to revolt. Uh, so they have what are called Blade Runners, who basically hunt down replicants and quote unquote retire them, which basically means kill them. Uh, and that's basically sort of the premise of the world. And we follow his name Rick Deckard, right?
Yeah,
Okay. Um, who is a Blade Runner, and he's taken he has to take on one last job to retire these four, I think it's four replicants who have escaped from a colony, an off-world colony, and are on Earth in Los Angeles, and he has to hunt them down and and kill them. That's the premise. And yeah, this movie didn't do very well from what I understand when it came out. It wasn't like a box office like it was a bit of a box office disappointment. Uh People didn't really, I don't know, vibe with it, I guess. But now it's considered like a sci-fi classic. I think everyone just has like seen at least like images from this movie, I would say.
I think like just to add my 2 cents in seeing this for the first time and what I kind of looked uh like into the movie and like people's thoughts on it. It seems like a lot of people changed their view almost watching it like one time and then watching it a second time. Because I expected a really different movie from what I knew about this than what I got, and yeah, I guess going into more of my thoughts about it just really quick. It was very different, and there were just like a lot of things where it's like I wasn't sure how to feel about like a certain aspects of the movie. Like I thought they were gonna do this, and this, and then like that either didn't happen or that didn't come up or it didn't do what I thought it should or something like that. and like, I don't know if I'm like a real fan of it going in that direction. And I think from what I was able to tell, that's kind of what other people thought, like a first viewing of the movie. And then like if throughout other rewatches of the movie per se, people kind of gain a different perspective on it. Well, how would
Yeah,
you say that is? Because you've seen it multiple times. Like if you remember the first time you saw it, as opposed to like seeing it again like a second or third time.
yeah, it's interesting. I think the first time I saw it, I watched like, I don't know. I think I watched the work print cut. I don't know why. I think it was because I heard some people say like that was because there's a lot of debate on who is, I don't know. There was a lot of like conflict on from people making the film on like whether Deckard is a replicant or not. Like
Yeah,
Ridley Scott
they all
like
have like
really
different
wanted it to
answers.
be. Yeah, Ridley Scott really wanted Deckard to be a replicant, uh, and uh, I feel like basically everyone else didn't.
Yeah,
But
I liked that it was ambiguous.
yeah, and
I like that.
that's one good thing about um, the sequel as well is like they don't directly state it, which I really like. Um, but yeah, I had kind of heard like, oh, like Ridley Scott was the only one who wanted it, and the work print version seemed to be the only version that didn't have like a more direct reference to him being replicant. So I don't know. At the time, I guess I just felt that was the best one to see. Um, but watching it like in its more proper uh final cut, because there's like 5 different cuts of this movie, and I haven't seen them
Crazy.
all. Yeah, he Ridley Scott has like gone and made changes to the film over time, and like the theatrical version wasn't what he wanted at all. Um, they added a narration from Harrison Ford,
Hmm.
and you can look it up on YouTube, and I'm sure there's like Blu-rays and stuff that have these alternate cuts. I don't have one myself, but like
Yeah, I just gotta say, I
uh,
completely forgot that Harrison Ford was the star in this movie. Like when I watched it, I was like, oh yeah, that's right.
yeah,
I completely forgot about that. Just had
yeah,
to
it's
add that in
crazy
really
to
quick.
think like how many major kind of franchises he's been in. Like Star Wars, Indiana Jones. Uh, yeah, and they added in like a narration for Harrison Ford for Deckard's character, and like it's really bad narration. I think it was like pretty clear that Harrison Ford didn't want to do it because
Mhm.
you can kind of hear it in his voice in the narration, and there's some pretty questionable lines uh in it if you want to check it out. Uh
That kind of makes me curious about it. Not gonna lie.
uh yeah, I'm gonna say it. There's an N-word drop in it, which is
What?
fucking weird because he
That's strange.
basically he says something like along the lines of like, I think when he goes into the other the chief's office or whatever, the Emmett Walsh character who like gives him the assignment, there's like narration where he's like this guy's he's the kind of guy who would call black people,
Oh,
and then he says, and it's like,
okay.
whoa, okay, why would it even include that line? Like that's weird. So the theatrical version is pretty terrible for that narration. So I knew not to see that at least. um but you can find a compilation of the narration on YouTube, and it's pretty funny, just like how bad it is. I forgot what I was trying to say though. There's all these different versions of the movie, but the final cut, from what I understand, like is the cut to see um, from most Blade Runner fans.
Yeah,
Um,
I believe that's the version I saw on HBO Max.
yeah, I don't really think they show any of the other versions on streaming or anything
I
anymore.
always see just the that version.
Yeah, I don't know if it has like any, because one of my favorite things about this movie is the effects. Like they're just like amazing for the time, and they still look incredible. Like all the cityscapes and miniatures and stuff. It looks so good. And I wonder if there's any digital enhancement, like some Star Wars special edition kind of stuff they did. I
Digital,
haven't I
digital
haven't heard
forever,
that though. Yeah, digital forever.
forever.
But I haven't heard whether or not he like Ridley Scott put anything in it like that. I think it's like pretty much the footage that they shot, but like just recut. But I don't know. I really like the Blade Runner movies, but I guess I'm not a diehard fan. I don't know like everything about the universe and stuff. Like I've seen the movies and I've heard, you know, people talk about the production and stuff. And it seems like it was a fairly troubled production in many ways, just like how Ridley Scott and like producers and writers like kind of clashed on certain ideas. Um, and I know Harrison Ford and Sean Young, who plays Rachel in the movie, I know like they didn't get along, and I feel like you can kind of see it in the performance from them when they're on screen together. But I don't know, maybe you didn't.
I can kind of see that.
Yeah, it's a little like I don't know. There's something weird. uh, but yeah, it's I Jesus, I don't even remember what I was trying to say. We were talking about like what it was like on my first watch. Um, I remember honestly thinking the first time seeing it that it was really I appreciated it, but I thought it was boring. I thought it was really slow and boring the first time seeing it, and it was more sort of like this world is really cool. Like the atmosphere and the mood of it is super cool. But the story isn't like that great. At least my first time seeing it, and then every time I've seen it since, I appreciate it a lot more. I
That seems to
actually
be what
like,
just the kind of movie it is, because I
yeah,
felt kind of similar thoughts, this being my first time watching it, and that just seems to be the norm for a lot of people when they first watch it.
yeah, um, yeah, because it's like I don't know. If you don't really know what it's about, you don't really know what to expect. And it's sort of like you hear Blade Runner, and it kind of makes it feel like it's going to be an action movie more so.
That's what I thought. It was just more of a typical action movie, because I
Yeah,
never really heard people that I know talk about it much. I know that there are some people that I've heard say it's boring, but I never knew why. I didn't have any context. It's just okay. Maybe they just thought it was boring. I don't know. It's just like I just thought it was an '80s action type film, so it's like how can it be boring? So I can see that. I was never bored watching it though, so I guess there's
but
that.
it is.
It's very
I think you could
slow
say,
though.
yeah, it's slow.
I
I think that's
remember
a better word
an
for it.
hour into the movie, and it kind of felt like not a lot happened,
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
or things were going just very slow. Like the things happened, like you could pick out some like big plot points, but it just kind of like in between those points, it just felt like it took a little long to get to. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So
yeah. It's a very it's sort of I don't know. I feel like it's a movie where the first time you see it, it's it almost feels like once it ends, you kind of look at the movie like this gut reaction, or at least I did, of like that was it. Like in a way, because you're like, oh, okay, so yeah, robots are more human than humans. Like we've seen this kind of story in sci-fi done a lot, I would say. Um, but what I really like watching it again, I really like how much that aspect of the movie isn't really played up throughout it. Because in the beginning, if you like think about like, okay, well, I don't know what this movie is going to be about. and you watch it, you don't really it doesn't really give you any hint that like these robots have humanity other than like okay, they revolt. So you maybe you think like okay, well maybe they have emotion. That's like what's going to happen. But you're sort of so focused on Deckard uh that I don't know. It doesn't really feel like the movie has humanity yet. Uh I think that's like an interesting aspect of the movie. It really is about Deckard kind of gaining humanity. Um, which again, I feel like in a lot of ways that's very simple, and maybe that's just people expect more. I don't know. I think there is depth and complexity to it, but like maybe they're expecting more. Uh, but I think it's the right amount. I actually really like how I don't know, just kind of you get it. Like there, it's not 2001: A Space Odyssey where people still are debating what the hell the movie means. You know,
Yeah.
it's very much like okay, it's very simple and you get it by the end of it. Uh, and that's yeah, I think that's kind of the wonderful thing about it. The sequel, I would say, has a much more kind of complex story, um, but and I think in a lot of ways it's a better story. Um, I'm curious what you'll think about it. Um, but yeah, this the first movie I really like it. The more I every time I watch it, it's kind of like the thing where I'm just so in awe of like how they did it, you know.
Mm.
Uh, I don't know. I just think like the music, the look of the movie is what like really keeps me like coming back to it.
I like the look of
Um,
the movie a lot.
yeah, yeah. I want to hear you talk about it a little more because it's your first time seeing it. I think you have probably a more interesting perspective.
Okay. I'm just like wondering which points really want to go over. Definitely aesthetically, I think that's one of its strongest suits, like right off the bat. It's got that very cyberpunky look to it. Uh, also, it also reminded me a little bit of like a film noir. It gave me those type of
Yeah,
vibes too. Um,
definitely. Yeah,
Most unrealistic thing about this movie, though, is this supposed to take place in Los Angeles, right? And it's raining a lot in this movie. False. Doesn't happen
oh,
here.
oh yeah, it's really funny when it says like 2019. It's like 3 years ago.
I know. It's like I want to go to there 2019.
Yeah,
So yeah, that's definitely like the one thing that I was continuously thinking watching the movie though is man, this movie looks gorgeous. They really nailed this futuristic look. Everything looks neat. All the different machines and stuff look cool. But I also like how if they would go into like the police building, it didn't really look that futuristic. It still had that kind of like old feeling to it. Like a lot of 80s stuff
yeah,
I see kind of do that where a lot of stuff can look futuristic, but they still have kind of like the stuff from their era. So it's almost like a mix. Um,
yeah. Like when he goes into the I don't know what to call him the police chief's like office.
yeah,
It
I
looks
just call
like
it the
a
police station.
it looks like it's pulled from like a 40s
Yeah,
noir movie.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I like when they mix that kind of stuff together. It just gives a
yeah,
lot of personality to me. I just think it's really aesthetically pleasing. I like that mixing
yeah,
those type of styles together.
yeah. With the noir aspect too, like the lighting in this movie
Yeah.
is like so good.
Yes. So I think a lot of that was done really well. Those were some of the strongest aspects to the movie. Um, another thing I was thinking throughout the movie is I like Harrison Ford a lot, but this doesn't feel nearly as much of an iconic role as like Indiana Jones or Han Solo for him. Like I think they could have had someone else in the role, and it would have been probably just as fine. You agree
I
with
can
that?
agree with you there. Yeah, it's not like his strongest performance or anything.
Yeah, there
I'd say
wasn't.
like the other characters in the movie are stronger, but that almost feels like the point because like Deckard is like the character that like starts off with like less humanity than the
Yeah,
machines, you know? Like that's
yeah,
so but yeah, I do agree. It's not like Han Solo where it's like he's or Indiana Jones where it's like, oh, he's super charming
yeah.
and
Now I liked the
cool.
idea that they had to make him kind of like less human and gain more humanity throughout the film, but I just didn't find him to be like the most interesting character that Harrison Ford has played. You know, I guess it's just
Yeah.
kind of like the nature of the movie, so I understand that, and I'm not really gonna knock it for it, but I was like a little disappointed that it's like this is Harrison Ford. He could be a lot more interesting, but
Yeah,
I get it.
it's funny because like I mean, and I think you know he's in the second one, right? Like he's on all the
Yeah,
posters and shit.
yeah,
Um don't expect him to be in the movie like that much though. Like
yeah. I figured.
it's one of those things where it's like it really should have been a surprise,
Yeah,
you know? But
but I'm sure they wanted to
it's
market him like, "Ooh, come on, Harrison Ford's in this again. Come see the
yeah.
movie if you like the original." So they went past it for marketing purposes, I'm sure.
Yeah. But it's funny because like I think Harrison Ford does a great job in the sequel. Like I think his performance in that is much better. And the characters are more interesting. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I think like there were probably certain things about the production that I don't know, maybe just didn't get as good a performance out of him. I don't know. I like Ridley Scott too.
I
You
do
know, like
too. Yeah,
Alien's like great.
Alien's great.
Um, but I've never found him to be like, and I probably should see more of his movies. Like I haven't seen Gladiator. Um, I'd say like Thelma and Louise is maybe one where it's like an exception to this for me. But like I've never found him to be like the greatest actor director. You
Hmm.
know,
Yeah,
like I can't think of like too many great performances that come out of his movies. Like I like Rutger Hauer in this movie a lot, but I the performances aren't like the standout thing about this movie for sure. And they're not an Alien either. Like as
yeah,
much as you know, Ellen Ripley and Sigourney Weaver are, like iconic. The first movie really isn't like that, you know,
yeah. I loved
iconic in terms of the
the original Alien
performances.
though. I thought that was a great movie.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It's a great movie. Like, and I still like the characters, but they're not like
Yeah, I
I
get
don't know.
that wasn't really that. His movies, at least the ones I've seen, don't seem like as character driven. I
No,
guess you could say.
which kind of I don't know. Kind of reminds me of like Christopher Nolan, but
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, Christopher Nolan did The Dark Knight, and that's like a great character movie. So I don't know. Yeah, I think I just probably need to see more Ridley Scott, um,
yeah.
but
Those were
yeah,
just kind of some like initial thoughts on Harrison Ford's character. I was very kind of surprised how if I'm probably going to be skipping around in different parts of the movie if that's okay, but I'm just kind of giving the
yeah. I
thoughts that
mean,
were in my head.
we're
Um,
spoiling things already.
yeah,
We always spoil things, so it's
I,
fine.
I I don't really know if I really like or feel really mixed about like the kind of final act with him and Roy just kind of like chasing each other, or Roy kind of chasing him throughout the building and he's just trying to get away. It was like both really entertaining, um but they also had Harrison Ford's characters just say nothing like the whole time. I was like, isn't he ever gonna say anything to Roy's being very talkative, but Harrison Ford not so much.
Yeah, it definitely like the conceptually. I think that's what
Yeah,
works about it. It's
I
like
think I
he's
would have liked
finally
a
being.
little bit more banter though between the two.
That would have been interesting, but
Yeah,
I almost kind of like the fact that Roy is the one that talks the whole time. He's
I
like,
think Roy was my favorite character, like,
oh,
especially
easily my favorite.
especially like
Yeah,
at that last kind of the last act, you could say he was just a ton of like the howling and everything he was doing. I'm sure the
Yeah,
actor was having a blast playing the character.
yeah, Rutger Hauer. I'm trying to think of other movies I've seen Rutger Hauer in. I just rewatched I don't know why I said I wanted to say Space Jam. What the fuck? Sin City. I
Yeah, a
watched Sin
little bit of
City
a
again.
different movie
A
right
little
there.
different.
Just a
Um,
little bit.
but it's like he's in that. He's great in that. I'm trying to think what else he's apparently in Batman Begins. I didn't even know that. Um,
Really? What does he
yeah,
play? What does he
apparently.
play?
Shit, I don't know. Let me see. Um, and it's a pretty like it's very unfortunate he passed away in 2019. The year this movie takes place.
Supposed to take place. Interesting.
Um, he played a character called William Earl. I don't. That probably was a smaller part.
Yeah, it was a small part. I don't remember that role at all. That
Yeah,
character.
but he's like one of those character actors that I like to see.
Yeah, I
Uh,
liked him. His character easily had the most personality, which I'm sure was kind of like also the point. Replicants being more humans,
yeah,
having more
and I
humanity than humanity, because he had a lot more personality than Harrison Ford's character, which I get is the point.
yeah,
But
and
he
I
was
like
very
how
entertaining.
he very much like starts. I mean, the way the movie starts out, it really is like the replicants are kind of treated as the villains. There's that scene with oh god, that actor is really good. The guy who plays one of the replicants who gets shot by Rachel later, and he's like taking that test in the beginning.
That scene was pretty funny because that caught me really off guard. I'm sure it does for like anyone who watches the movie. How
Yeah,
you want to ask me about my mother, just start shooting the guy. So I was like,
yeah,
oh,
or just
okay,
like his
that
he's like
escalated.
he doesn't know like what a tortoise is.
Oh yeah, tortoise with that.
Yeah, it's just like he's just like his
Yeah, you're just thinking
reactions to
you're
like
just
all
thinking
these
like, what is
questions.
wrong with this guy?
Yeah,
And then he
but
just
like
shoots the other Blade Runner.
yeah, the way like he just kind of seems to callously like kind of kill
Yeah,
this guy kind of makes I feel like it's meant to set him up as like a villain,
you really don't see much
in
of
the
him
eyes of the
though.
audience.
Yeah, but
You
you don't
you
really.
really
He
don't.
does. He's not in the movie like really all that much. That kind of surprised me there.
Yeah, I think that character's like
There were
pretty
quite a
memorable for basically just being
yeah.
in
There were
like a
quite a few
scene or two.
characters I thought that I thought the movie would have them play a much bigger role. Like he was one of them. I wasn't too sure what the movie was going to do with Rachel either. I thought the movie would go in a really different direction with her character, and just kind of doesn't. Um,
Yeah, it's
I don't know what else to say about that.
yeah, I mean, she's really there as a love interest character. Um
Which
and
some of those scenes were pretty awkward too.
yeah, the scene where where Harrison Ford like closes the door
Yeah,
when she's trying to leave is like
it worked in
hmm.
Rocky because Rocky was a pretty charming character, and
Yeah,
it
yeah,
worked in that I think
exactly.
a bit
He's
better.
a charming character though. Like with
Yeah,
Harrison Ford, it's like ah,
yeah. This dude just he he, he was
he's
not
been
coming
like a
off as
jerk this
charming.
whole time.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's like yeah, it's pretty weird, to say the
yeah.
least. But like
I don't think it worked quite as well as it did in Rocky. That's all I gotta
no,
say because it did remind me a little bit of Rocky about like, but
yeah,
it felt so different though because Rocky also put down oh don't go, but with Rocky, like even though it's the
yeah, we
first
know
movie,
that character so much by that point.
yeah, like he would never have like forced her to stay there if she didn't want to. If she was like, no, I want to go, okay, I guess
Right.
this isn't going to happen then. With Harrison Ford's character, I don't know. He seemed like really, really pushing, like, no, you're staying, and you're
Yeah.
gonna, and it's like telling her like you're gonna kiss me now. Yeah,
Yeah.
not
They
quite the
could
same
have
vibe. I wonder if
yeah, it
that's
could have
because
been
they
portrayed much better.
didn't like each other. If that played
I
a role into it.
yeah, knowing that like while watching that scene, it's like, huh, this is strange.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not the only one who thought this is a little weird.
Yeah. And yeah, her character really isn't like terribly important in this. Other than I think it does bring out some of Deckard's humanity, but like
Yeah, I think that was
um
probably like the point Like that's just like the sole point of her character. It's not really to be
Yeah.
like her own character. Even though like they set up some kind of interesting stuff, the whole she thinks that she's a human and she's really replicant, and she's got these memories. I just thought it'd be a bigger part of the film.
Yeah, especially like I always remembered before seeing this movie, she's on she's on the poster. Like she looks really cool in the poster. Like really great poster just in general. I don't know if it was Drew Struzan who painted that poster, but like it looks great with her like smoking the cigarette and like her hair. I love that hairdo. And Harrison Ford with the gun. The gun looks like really. It's like I don't know. There's something about certain like sci-fi
It's
weapons
a
and
different
stuff that are just.
it's a different colored buttons. It's got to be that. Like slap a couple different colored buttons on something. Oh, it's futuristic.
Yeah. But yeah, that I just like the whole look of that poster is like just so great
Yeah,
and like
pretty good.
evocative. And then
Back when
uh
movies posters used to be, I don't know, rememberable and
yeah, and painted.
stylish
That,
and
that was
cool
that
and
was
painted. Yeah,
yeah, that was
back when
fun.
they tried with back when they tried.
Yeah. Now it's like they try to replicate that same kind of look, but everyone's just like photoshopped in and
Yeah, not the
you know,
same.
yeah, not quite the same. Uh but yeah, like yeah, you kind of would expect Rachel to be more of a prominent character in this movie, but it really is about Deckard, yeah, hunting down the four replicants. Um, yeah, the first one he kills is the woman who's like working at like the strip club or whatever, right?
Yeah,
Which okay, I think in that scene, the guy who he talks to at the bar, the like bald guy, did you recognize him?
I don't
he's he was in
know.
another movie that we watched like about a year ago
Movie
for
that we watched.
Halloween.
Uh, what did we watch during Halloween? We watched several things.
Yeah, he's the grandpa in Hack-O-Lantern.
Oh,
You can
really?
like if you like remember his
Okay.
voice, he's got that like
Yeah.
kind of
Okay.
yeah.
I forgot
Yeah,
about.
his
I honestly forgot we even watched that until you mentioned Jack Lantern again.
it's just
Yeah,
so
you're
fun.
right
Like,
though. You're right. Okay.
yeah, I mean, yeah, if anyone watching this, like go watch Hack-O-Lantern for Halloween. It's a really fun movie. Uh but yeah, I just thought that was funny.
That is funny.
Yeah, because it's weird too, because it's like, oh yeah, this guy was in like Blade Runner, and then like 6 years later, he's in like Hack-O-Lantern. I don't know if that's a step up or down, honestly. I don't like.
Good question.
But yeah, yeah, the first replicant he kills is working at like a strip club. This is kind of a weird scene where like Harrison Ford goes in and like does this like
Oh yeah,
fake
that
voice.
that was kind of funny though. I thought.
Yeah, it was funny. I
That
just
was
like
probably like a little bit more personality there. Him like trying to pretend to be what was he trying to pretend to be again?
some like
Trying to interview her or something like that. Was that
some
it?
like morality agent or something.
Oh
I don't know.
yeah,
Some
but
like he
the
was
voice he
trying to make
used
sure
was funny though.
his like cover was like, oh, he's trying to make sure there's no one like peeping into the dressing room or something.
Okay, yeah. Well, he had that was probably the most personality he had the whole film. So
Yeah.
that was
Uh,
pretty fun. That was funny though. I gotta admit.
yeah, and the chase scene's pretty good.
That was a pretty good chasing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean that shot of like when he shoots her and she's like crashing through the glass
Glass. Yeah.
is like great. Uh, and yeah, I mean I think like I mentioned the music, but like the music in this movie is like so good. Um, it was composed by a guy named Vangelis who just passed away like
Wow.
in May this year, uh, which was pretty sad to hear. And like, yeah, this score is just like so incredible. Um, I'm trying to look at like to see if he did any other scores that I would like really know. Um, he did like The Bounty in like 1492, Alexander. Not movies I've seen, but like this score is just like, oh, we did Chariots of Fire. Okay. Um, yeah, I love this score. It's so good. The score, like when she gets shot and is like running through the glass, is great. Um, yeah, or just like the way the movie opens. I love that like shot of the buildings and like the fire shooting out of like I think it's like chimney stacks or whatever. It's like such a cool shot. Uh, everything in this movie looks so gorgeous. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think of what to say else about the plot. Um, I like the stuff going on with Roy, kind of like going to these people who work for what was the company? Uh, oh God, for the company that makes the replicants in the movie. Do you remember? Tyrell
Yeah, I
Corporation.
remember it started with a T and it had that sound, but I couldn't remember off the top of my head.
I keep wanting to think. I keep wanting to say Wayland, but that's from Alien. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I've been like that was not it.
Yeah, which is another Ridley Scott movie. Um, and then in 2049, it's Wallace, I think, because the Tyrell Corporation in the lore of the universe, like the Tyrell Corporation goes under, I think, or gets bought out. I can't remember for sure, but so yeah, like Roy is going, yeah, like to these other people who like work for Tyrell, because they each have like a different job. Like they go and they find the guy who makes the replicant's eyes, and he's played by James Hong, great prolific actor James Hong. He was just recently in like Everything Everywhere All at Once, uh, and he was in like Big Trouble in Little China. He was also in Wayne's World 2, apparently. I feel like I probably remember that, but I haven't seen that one in a while.
I haven't seen Wayne's World 2 in a while either.
Yeah. But yeah, like I like this scene where they go in and it's like complete. It's like he's like in a room that's like all frozen. Uh, yeah, I don't know. Just I like that. And then they go. He and uh, Roy and the Daryl Hannah character. I can't remember this character's name. Uh, Chris. Uh, they go like to this guy who, what was his job? He like helps makes the replicants. That's all I remember.
Yes.
But he like has these other like toys that he's like made that kind of live in his apartment. Yeah, very very cool.
Yeah, also kind of like unsettling too, because it's like, are they, how alive, quote unquote, are they? Because as soon as you get into his apartment, they come and kind of greet him. So it's like, did he like make them in a way for them to do all kinds of different things? Because he doesn't really get to interact with people. So it's like, these are my friends. So it's a like, it felt a little like unsettling, just because you don't know at that point, like, what does he have these toys do, So it's a little like unsettling too. I kind of liked it though.
Yeah, and I like this
weren't
character.
Really sure what to think.
Yeah, I like this character, Sebastian, who makes these toys. And I forgot exactly what they say, but they say that he says that he has like a condition that makes his like glands and like organs like age faster, right?
Yeah.
And then
it's when he said his age is 25, I was like, this dude is not 25. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that was like an interesting aspect, because then the Roy and Pris like kind of compare it to how they're newer replicants, and the in the world of the movie, like the way that they get around this sort of like an eventual mutiny by replicants is that they have a 4-year lifespan. So they compare his kind of increased aging to their own like sort of mortality, which I thought was interesting. Yeah, this actor is really good. William Sanderson. He was in Deadwood. Played oh god, what was his character? E.B. Farnham. I like Deadwood's a really good show. I like that character a lot. Yeah, and yeah, the final chase scene, cat and mouse scene between Roy and Deckard is really like entertaining. Yeah, it's like it's not a terribly plot heavy movie, so
Right.
kind of like getting through it pretty fast. Yeah, I don't know what else is there to say about the movie.
Not really a whole lot. I think we've talked about most of the characters and kind of all like the major things that have happened. I think I said all the kind of initial things I thought when watching the movie, and just how kind of unsure I felt about it after I was done. Which it seems like I'm not alone in that. Kind of like with 2001: A Space Odyssey, where a lot of people are kind of just so like, what did I just watch? I don't really know what to think because I can't even fathom what I just saw. This one, it's not. I'm not trying to fathom what I just saw, but it just there's so many things like I thought the movie was gonna do or where it was gonna go, than what it ended up being. I'm like, did I like it? I don't know. There are things I like, and there are things I'm not sure I like, and then there's things that I just don't like. So yeah, I had to really think about it like for a couple of days what I really thought about the movie. It just felt like one of those types of films where you got to sit on it a little bit before you just kind of like make a initial thought about it.
Yeah.
Feels like it's one of those type movies, especially when you go in expecting something really different, which is what I did, than what I got.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it helps to have the right kind of expectations for this. This is a more of a mood piece and more of a simple kind of story than I think it lets on with like the reputation it has of like this great sci-fi movie.
I'm definitely interested in seeing it again. Like waiting a bit of time to pass and then seeing it again, because it just seems like everybody who watches it multiple times, kind of like yourself, gains a different perspective on it every time. It's one of those type of movies where you're gonna feel differently about it every time you watch it.
Yeah, and like now it's one of those movies that I mean, it was kind of like 2001: Space Odyssey. I think I mentioned this, but like when I watched that, I was kind of like, well, maybe I'll watch it and be on my computer for a bit or something because I've seen the movie.
And then you just end up watching it.
Yeah, it just like it sucks me right in, and like I like love this movie. Like it's just one of those movies that I just feels like a gold standard of like sci-fi filmmaking and just filmmaking in general. Like I just think there's so much stuff in this world that is so like it feels so real. Like all the flying cars and stuff and all the billboards and
I mean,
look at the
you
city.
gotta have flying cars in your future movie.
Yeah. And then Back to the Future 2 came out a few years after, like 7 years after this. Yeah. And yeah, I don't know, just like everything looks just so good in this movie. That it's like
one
really
of the strongest
easy
aspects.
Yeah, it's really easy for me to.
I'm sure this had influence on other films that came out after, wouldn't you say, and other media?
Sure. Yeah, like Ghost in the Shell, I'd say definitely.
Yeah, this had to have
The
influenced
Matrix.
stuff because it's like very familiar looking, whereas I've seen stuff like this because I think the stuff I've seen was influenced by it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's just yeah, I love like moody cyberpunk shit. I'd say like the closest that I, I I feel is similar to this movie is Ghost in the Shell, um, which I want to watch again. That was another movie that I kind of felt was like
I still gotta watch that.
it's really good. Yeah, it's a classic. And that was another movie where I watched it and was kind of had the same reaction to Blade Runner that I did the first time, which was like, oh, was that like it? Like, like I think by the end of Ghost in the Shell, I was a little bit more like, whoa, okay. So that's what it was building up to the whole time. Uh, and the rest of the movie was kind of like that was like really slow. But I think on a second watch, I'd like love that movie. Um, yeah, that's how I feel about this movie as well. Just yeah, you kind of have to let it sit with you in a way, and I feel like even if you watch it once, though, you're at least going to be impressed by just how good it looks, how good it still looks. Like
Hmm.
this movie's like 40 years old. Like it looks incredible. It's I think that's like probably the aspect of the movie that's pretty much like impossible to deny. Like it looks good,
Yeah.
you know, and the music is
Yeah,
great. Like,
if someone watched this movie and didn't like it, I don't think they would say it's a bad looking movie.
yeah,
Unless you're just one of those people that I don't think so, older movies look bad just inherently, because those type of people
yeah,
do
I
exist.
know. There's definitely those type of people. Man, I don't know. This just looks like it came out like yesterday. Like
Yeah,
I
it looked really good.
honestly like
We're timeless.
we'll talk about Blade Runner 2049, but like just since we're talking about how this movie looks, like I honestly think this movie looks better than Blade Runner 2049 in a lot of ways. Although I think they're going for very different looks. I still think this movie just like looks so incredible. Um, yeah, I'm really interested in talking about Blade Runner 2049 because I do think it has more to chew on with story, which I like. I like that aspect a lot about it. Um, and I think you will too. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I don't have too much else to say about this movie. I think it's
Yeah, I don't think I do either.
yeah, I think it's a masterpiece. Like honestly, like I even though there's certain things like I don't know, I could probably nitpick or I could say like the story could be more complex, but again, I like the simplicity of it. Um, some of my favorite movies they don't need to be that complex. So I don't know. I don't know if this is gonna be too high or not or whatever, but like I'm giving it 5.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I guess I'll give mine.
Yeah. Sorry, I kind of jumped the
Oh yeah,
gun.
no problem. So I'm in a obviously a little bit different predicament here, seeing it just once, but I liked what the movie was going for, like the themes it was going for. Um, I'm always like usually a fan of that type of themes in a movie, especially like a futuristic one where it's like, oh, this type of thing would be, you know, possible in this type of the world that this takes place in. Because I've seen other media tell this type of story, which, like I said, I'm sure it was influenced in some way by from Blade Runner. So, like, even if you don't like Blade Runner, you could at least, if you like other stories that still kind of like have similar themes or tell a similar story, you got to at least give some props to Blade Runner for probably inspiring that in some form. Um, but it's just this is a hard movie to give a rating for the first time because I don't know how I'll feel about it later. I think I'm going to watch it again at some point down the line because that just seems to be what you need to do with this movie. But I think like initial thoughts, I'm pretty confident that I want to give it like a 3.5. It's not quite a 4 for me yet. I could see it being there down the road after more time passes. Um, I just think like the biggest thing for me is Harrison Ford's character, which once again, I get what they were doing with him. I just think he could have been a bit more interesting. And yeah, just like some of the other things, like same with Rachel. I wish she could have been like I liked the actress who played her, and I liked the ideas we had with her. And it's like I wish we could have gone like more of that, you know. So, but I might change my mind on certain things, you know, further down the road when I see it again, and maybe like, okay, I had a problem with this kind of before, but now I don't. It's just one of those type of things. So yeah, I think 3.5 for a first time is a fine rating.
Yeah, that's what I expected you to give, honestly. Like 3.5 to 4. I think.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
pretty fair. It's a good movie. I would like to see it again because, like I said before, it just seems like one of those type of movies that you kind of, I think, need to see it again to really appreciate everything.
Yeah, and it's one of those movies that, like you said, influence
Yeah,
like so much.
and
I think like especially like probably in video games too.
yeah, yeah, definitely in video games
Yeah.
too, because I can think of some. But yeah, I am excited actually to see the sequel though. I'm definitely excited to see where they go. If it has similar themes as this one, or if they do something totally different with it, I don't know. I don't really know anything about the sequel. I don't know if it follows. I know that Harrison Ford's in it. I'm guessing he's probably not like the main character though. I think who Ryan Gosling, he's in it.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
That's about all I know. So I don't know. I just don't know what else to expect from the sequel. So I'm pretty excited to see where they go, how much more of the world they explore, what themes they tackle, if any characters from this one pop up in it besides Harrison Ford. So I'm definitely looking forward to the sequel.
Yeah. We were supposed to talk about it because I think in the last episode we mentioned we'd be talking about both, but
Yeah, that's
stuff,
my fault.
life gets in the way. It's fine. We'll
Yeah,
talk about it next week though.
yeah, we'll just meet again next week.
Yeah, and Blade Runner 2049, it is a longer movie. It's like almost 3 hours. I think it's like 2 hours and 45 minutes. So it's pretty long.
Does it feel that long to you when you
Honestly,
watched it?
no. Like for me, it's surprisingly like it engages you so much with the story that like it's pretty easy to just be kind of sucked in with it.
Cool.
So yeah, at least that's how I feel. Very, very interested to see what you think of it. So
I'm
yeah,
excited to see it.
that's what we're gonna talk about next time. Yeah, that's it for this week. So we'll see you then.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.